Mom said we'll keep milking her till she's dry. Then poof. That's what my sister said on the phone. Days later, my parents handed me a suitcase and told me to get out. How would you feel if the people who raised you treated you like a wallet with legs? Leave a comment below and let Rachel know she's not alone. I never thought I'd return to the pale blue room with the twin bed, especially not as a financial crutch wrapped in daughter's clothing. 2 years of spreadsheets, takeout abstinence, and living below my means had finally yielded something resembling autonomy. My apartment was small but sunlit, with a corner for reading and a kitchen just wide enough for a single person to cook in without knocking over a spice rack. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. Until that call. "Sweetheart," my mother's voice crackled through the phone. "Your dad, he lost his job. They cut his entire department. We don't know what we're going to do." I'd been mid-scroll through apartment listings, just browsing, dreaming about one day owning something permanent. The words dropped like bricks in my gut. I sat in silence as Mom went on about mortgage deadlines, Kayla's upcoming tuition, and how utilities were piling up. I kept waiting for her to say they'd figured something out. She didn't. "We just need a little help for a while," she said. "You could move back home, just for a few months, and help us cover things. You'd really be saving the family." It wasn't a question. It was a plea, one lacquered in guilt and urgency. I didn't say yes immediately. That night, I ran numbers, checked lease terms, updated my Excel tracker, Houseplan 2023.xlsx, and stared at the total I'd managed to squirrel away. It wasn't enough for a down payment yet, but it was a good start. I had been proud of that number, of the quiet discipline it represented. And now? I typed out a text to my landlord. A week later, I stood in my childhood driveway, a few boxes and my battered laptop bag in hand. The garage door was open. Inside, I spotted Kayla's pile of shoeboxes and a ring light. My dad was in the living room, TV flickering on mute. He nodded when he saw me, said, "Hey, kid," and went back to his show. My mom emerged from the kitchen with an apron on and a practiced smile. She hugged me, held on too long, and whispered, "You're doing the right thing. Things will get better soon." I climbed the stairs to my old room. The door was open, but the room wasn't mine anymore. The soft blue paint remained, but the rest was unfamiliar. The bed had a different blanket. My desk was gone, replaced by a pink vanity stacked with makeup palettes. Kayla's designer bags lined the shelves. There were still clothes spilling out of plastic bins stacked in corners. "She said she'd move her stuff," my mom offered from behind me. "We just didn't expect you back so soon." I didn't respond. I opened a box, unpacked my laptop, and placed it on the nightstand. That night, after a dinner of lemon chicken, Kayla's favorite, not mine, I logged into my bank account and scheduled a recurring monthly transfer, $1,800 to my mother's account. I stared at the confirm screen for a long time before clicking. Then I opened Houseplan 2023.xlsx, created a new tab labeled Family Transfers, and logged the date, amount, and memo. Help while Dad is unemployed. I thought I'd feel relief. I felt hollow. Days blended into weeks. My mom sent me text reminders for due dates: electric, car payment, tuition. I cooked for myself most nights. The bathroom always had Kayla's hair extensions draped over the towel rack. One morning, I reached into the fridge for yogurt only to find a sticky note. "Mine. Don't touch. K." I tried to hold on to patience, remembering this was temporary. But patience thins when you're crowded out of your own life. Then one evening, as I was folding laundry on the foot of the bed, my bed, reclaimed by force of circumstance, Kayla walked in without knocking. "By the way," she said, flipping her hair, "you should be grateful we even cleared a bed for you. This was almost my filming space." She didn't wait for a response. She turned and left, her phone already recording another makeup haul video. I stared at the bed, at the boxes of her things still occupying half the closet, and pressed my thumb and forefinger to my eyelids. Later that night, I padded downstairs for a glass of water. The kitchen lights were still on. I heard the murmur of voices. My parents. I paused in the hallway just outside the kitchen entrance. "She's still sending the full amount?" my father asked. "Every month," my mother replied, sounding pleased. "As long as she keeps paying, let her believe we're still struggling." It's not the money that hurts. It's how easily love can be measured and billed. The smell of garlic bread drifted through the house, but it didn't reach the upstairs hallway where I stood, trying to keep my breathing even. It had been another long workday. An emergency deck from my boss, 3 clients who couldn't make up their minds, and back-to-back Zoom calls. All I'd wanted was to take a hot shower and eat something warm. Instead, I'd found Kayla filming a makeup review in the only bathroom, lights blinding the steamed-up mirror, door unlocked like the hallway was her private green room. Downstairs, my mother called, "Dinner!" I didn't move right away. Instead, I checked the notification that had pinged my phone minutes earlier. Another $1,800 debited from my account. Right on schedule. I scrolled back through the logs. September, August, July. Clean, timely, unwavering. Then I tapped over to the gallery, opened the folder named Transfers, Morgan, and added today's confirmation screenshot. Next, I opened the Excel file. Houseplan 2023.xls. The tab labeled Family Transfers now had its own color code. The cell for notes read, "No visible change in household strain." I walked downstairs with that quiet weight on my chest. The dinner table was set with chicken marsala and buttered noodles. Kayla was already seated, face glowing from her ring light routine, fork spinning noodles in slow, practiced twirls. My father barely looked up from his phone. My mother smiled too brightly. "You're just in time." I sat. No one asked about my day. Halfway through the meal, Kayla casually dropped it. "So, girls' trip to Clearwater. 3 days, beachfront condo, we're going in 2 weeks. I just need $700 to cover my share." I blinked. "You need me to give you $700? She raised a brow as if I'd misheard. "Yeah, I mean, you don't go out or do anything. It's not like you're using it." I set my fork down. "Kayla, I'm sending nearly $2,000 a month just to keep this house functioning. You think I'm sitting on extra money for your beach selfies?" My mother flinched like I'd sworn. Kayla scowled. "God, you're so stingy. It's just money." "No," I said, voice rising despite myself. "It's not just money. It's hours of my life. It's nights I stayed up editing pitch decks, mornings I skipped coffee so I could stretch my groceries. It's the reason I still drive a Civic that shudders when I hit 60. So no, you don't get to pretend it's nothing." Tears welled in her eyes instantly. Not quiet ones, big dramatic sobs. She shoved her chair back. "I was just asking. You don't have to yell." Elaine was up in a second, rushing to Kayla's side. "What did you say to her?" "She asked me for $700 for a vacation," I said flatly. "She's stressed, Rachel," Mom snapped. "She works hard at school. She just needs a break." I laughed. A short, ugly sound. "She doesn't work. She posts filters and calls it hustle." Robert finally looked up. "That's enough." It wasn't enough. It was too much. I stood and left the table, the chair scraping the floor behind me. Back upstairs, I paced. My chest felt tight. My teeth ached from how hard I'd clenched my jaw. I opened my laptop, navigated to my encrypted folder, and added a new subfolder, Emotional Taxation. Into it, I dropped a voice memo, my own recounting of the dinner conversation. Not because I planned to use it, but because I didn't want to gaslight myself into forgetting it had happened. Later that week, Kayla came home with a new MacBook. A few days after that, she unboxed a professional-grade camera for her media class. I watched from the stairs as she flounced through the door with branded shopping bags. She didn't ask me for money again. She didn't have to. One night in early October, as I passed the upstairs hallway on my way to the laundry room, I heard her on the phone. "She hasn't canceled it yet," Kayla was saying. "Yeah, Mom says as long as she keeps paying, we're golden. Just milk her till she's dry, then poof, My arms prickled. I stood frozen, holding the laundry basket, listening to her laugh. Then I turned and walked straight into my room, pulled up my banking app, and tapped into the recurring transfer setup. My thumb hovered over the toggle that read, Scheduled. The number glowed in digital clarity. $1,800. I didn't press it. Yet. They tied a ribbon around my birthday gift. Inside was not love, or sorry. Inside was permission to leave. It had rained that morning, light and steady, the kind of weather that makes sidewalks shine and makes people quieter in their movements. I took the long way home from work, walking a few extra blocks before catching the train. I stopped at the grocery store near the station and picked up a chocolate cake with Happy Birthday piped on in white frosting. It wasn't much, but it was what I could do. For myself. In the parking lot, I sat in my car a while with the box on my lap. The sky had darkened early. Through the windshield, the house loomed ahead. Porch light on, the windows glowing warm. A flicker of hope tried to surface. Maybe they had remembered. When I walked through the door, the scene hit me like a surreal stage play. The dining table was set with real plates and silverware. A flickering candle stood in the center. My parents and Kayla were already seated, dressed just a little nicer than usual, all looking up at me with unreadable smiles. "There she is," Mom said with a brightness that made my skin itch. "The birthday girl." I placed the cake on the edge of the table. "I got us something sweet," I said, my voice caught between awkward and apologetic. Kayla looked at the cake with barely masked disdain. "You shouldn't have bothered." Then I noticed the box. It was big, sleek, white, wrapped in a crimson ribbon like a corporate prize. I blinked. "What's that?" Dad nudged it toward me. "Your birthday present. Go ahead, open it." My hands moved slowly. The ribbon slipped off. The lid lifted. Inside was a brand new suitcase. Silver, Samsonite, elegant, expensive looking. My throat caught for a second. "Wow," I said, confused. "Are we going somewhere? After all?" Kayla barked out a laugh. Mom leaned forward, her voice honey-dipped. "We think it's time you move on, honey. We're financially stable now." It didn't register right away. Robert added, "You've served your purpose. Don't make it harder than it needs to be." And then Kayla, smiling like a snake in the sun, "Your old room?" "Mine again. Hope you don't mind." The floor tilted under me. I looked at them one by one. None flinched. Their expressions were calm, composed, even satisfied. I waited for someone, anyone, to say it was a joke. That this was cruel, even for them. But no one did. My mother reached for her wine glass. "We figured this would be a clean break, easier for everyone." There was no shouting, no argument. I didn't cry. I didn't ask why. I stood up, turned, and walked to my room. That night, I packed. Quietly, efficiently. The new suitcase fit most of what I'd brought when I returned months ago. A few boxes held what didn't fit. I placed my laptop carefully on top, zipped the bag closed, and carried everything to the door. No one stopped me. No one even noticed. They were downstairs, laughing. I sat on the bed for a moment. Just a moment. The room was already starting to look like Kayla's again. I powered on my laptop and opened my banking app. The recurring transfer was still scheduled for the 1st of next month. I canceled it. The confirmation screen blinked up at me. Next scheduled payment. $0, 0 cents. I reached for the screenshot button, then paused. "Happy birthday to me," I whispered. I thought they'd taken everything. Then came the email demanding I pay rent, for being their daughter. The hostel bed creaked every time I shifted. I had the bottom bunk near the window where the draft seeped in no matter how tightly I pulled the blanket around me. The radiator hissed but gave no warmth. A Polish tourist in the top bunk was snoring softly. Across the room, a girl in headphones typed furiously on a silver laptop. Everyone was surviving in their own way. My phone buzzed. I reached for it with a sigh, expecting a work email or maybe a reminder to renew my bus pass. Instead, I saw the subject line: Formal demand for outstanding debt. I opened it. The body of the message was crisp and sterile, written in legalese that tried and failed to sound neutral. The letterhead belonged to a real law firm, and the signature bore a partner's name. Someone I Googled instinctively. Legitimate. They were demanding $24,000 in back rent for the 2 years I had lived in my parents' home. I stared at the screen for a long moment. Then I laughed. Sharp, high, ugly, rent. For my childhood bedroom. After I'd paid their bills. After they kicked me out on my birthday. I sat up, pulled my laptop from the bag at my feet, and opened Houseplan 2023.xlsx. The spreadsheet glowed at me like a lighthouse. I scrolled. Every transaction was there. Monthly, dated, labeled. Cross-referenced with bank confirmations, each one saved in folders I'd backed up to the cloud the moment I left. I hadn't known why I needed them then. Now I did. I opened a new tab, titled it, Counterclaim Evidence. Then I sent a message to someone I hadn't spoken to in over a year, Rachel M. Hey, I know it's been a while. I need legal help. I'm being harassed by my parents. You were the only person I could think of. The reply came less than 10 minutes later. Derek Shaw. Tell me where and when. I'm in. The cafe smelled like burnt espresso and cinnamon. It was cluttered and noisy, the kind of place where no one looked twice at tears or whispered arguments. I sat at a corner table near the window, laptop open, manila folder beside it. Derek walked in wearing a long gray coat, his hair dusted with snow. He looked older than the last time I'd seen him, sharper around the jaw, still too kind in the eyes. He sat across from me, unbuttoned his coat, and gave me a long, assessing look. I read your message, he said, but I need to hear it out loud. I told him everything. The emails, the suitcase, the years of money sent, the fake crisis, the silence, and then the demand. He didn't interrupt once, just nodded, sipped his coffee, and scrolled through the documents I'd loaded on my laptop. When I finished, he exhaled through his nose and leaned back. They're bluffing, he said. This isn't a debt. It's emotional extortion. But they used a real lawyer. Doesn't matter. This won't hold in court. They won't risk going before a judge with this nonsense, especially not with your documentation. He clicked through the spreadsheet again, then stopped. You made all these entries yourself? Yeah, I tracked every payment in case I needed to adjust my savings goals. Derek looked up, his expression unreadable. I've been following your blog, he said after a pause. The financial one. Quiet Wealth. It's good. You've been standing up for others for years. Let me stand up for you. Something swelled in my throat that I couldn't name. I nodded. He turned the laptop toward himself, pulled out a flash drive, and began typing. I'm going to send them a formal response from my firm's domain. We'll acknowledge their letter and then itemize every cent you've sent. $1,800 a month, 24 months? $43,200, plus emotional distress. My jaw tightened. Are you sure that won't escalate things? He looked up. Rachel, they're already suing you for existing. You're allowed to push back. He finished typing and slid the laptop back to me. The letter was clean, professional, devastating. I read it twice. My heart was racing. Let's do it, I said. Then I looked up from my coffee. But this time, don't hold back. The best rebuttals don't come with shouting, just a letterhead, a signature, and a timestamp. Derek's office was nothing like the cornerless chaos of my parents' house or the shared bedroom in the hostel I'd left behind. It was all soft lights, tidy corners, glass doors that hummed shut behind you. The conference room smelled faintly of leather and printer toner. I sat at one end of a polished table, watching Derek make small edits on a screen mirrored to the wall. Take your time, he said, scrolling slowly. I want you to be okay with every word. The letter was short, just over a page, but every line felt like a weight placed on a scale that had always tilted against me. It listed each monthly payment I'd made, $800 for 24 months, cited bank receipts, attached the spreadsheet as Exhibit A. Then it stated with unflinching calm that any attempt to escalate the matter would result in a counterclaim seeking full reimbursement, legal fees, and damages for emotional distress. I reread it. Once, then again, then a third time. "This is professional," I murmured. "It's also lethal," Derek said, not smiling. "They can't afford to test it." I nodded, my fingers clenched together in my lap. "Send it?" He clicked the mouse. Sent. Tuesday, 10:41 a.m., the wait began. My new studio apartment was no bigger than my former bedroom, but it had a lock I controlled and a door no one barged through. I had a mattress on the floor, a collapsible desk by the window, and a tiny kitchenette that buzzed whenever I used the microwave and hot plate at the same time. But it was mine. Every morning I checked my email. Nothing. The first day passed, then the second. On the third, I almost convinced myself they weren't going to answer at all. But on the fourth morning, Derek forwarded me a message with a single sentence. "Our clients will not pursue this matter further." That was it. I stared at it for a long time. No satisfaction surged, no cheering, just stillness. I opened the folder on my desktop named Closure, added the PDF of their withdrawal, and beneath it, a note in bold, "Debt cleared." Then I opened a blank post on my blog. Quiet Wealth, December 2023. Title, "When Love Has a Price Tag." They never teach you that sometimes the people who claim to love you will measure that love in dollar signs. They won't always steal outright. Some will smile as they take, count on your silence, and call it gratitude. Some will guilt you for saying no, for setting a limit, for wanting a boundary. And when you try to leave, they'll find a way to make you the villain for breaking a cycle you never consented to. This isn't about money. This is about manipulation wrapped in birthday cards and forced obligations. If you're reading this and wondering whether your generosity is being used against you, here's my advice. Document everything. Every cent, every favor, every text asking for help. Not because you'll need it, but because someday you might stop doubting yourself. I did. No names, no accusations. But the weight in my chest loosened with every word. I hit publish and closed the tab. Later that night, I checked my blog analytics. The post had been shared more times than anything I'd written all year. Comments filled the feed. And then an email arrived in my inbox. No subject line, just one sentence. "This sounds familiar. I'm glad someone said it." Freedom doesn't come with fireworks. Sometimes it's a quiet room, a full fridge, and a canceled recurring payment. The rain had been steady all afternoon. Gentle, rhythmic, the kind that turns windows into slow-moving watercolor paintings. My studio apartment, once stark and temporary, had settled into something warmer. There were bookshelves now, mismatched, but sturdy. A thrifted rug added a splash of red near the foot of the bed. The fridge hummed softly, full of groceries I chose and bought. The lamp on the desk cast a warm amber glow against the rainy blur outside. I was home. My inbox pinged softly, a banner sliding across the corner of the screen. Subject: Your home loan application has been approved. I stared at it for a moment, then clicked. The details were there in black and white. The modest townhouse I'd been eyeing for weeks. Small, quiet, with a porch, and just enough room for a future I was finally letting myself imagine, was officially mine to claim. I sat back in my chair and let the reality settle in. A knock came at the door, soft and unintrusive. The building manager, handing over my month-to-month lease renewal to sign, smiled and said, "Congrats, Morgan." On the counter sat a small chocolate cake. I'd picked it up earlier that day. No reason except that I wanted it. The white frosting script read, "To me, from me." I took a photo of it before slicing it open. Later, I scrolled through my phone while eating. A friend from my old job had messaged, "Heard Kayla dropped out." No one's seen her on campus in weeks. Another text popped in from Derek. Proud of you. That was all it said. That was enough. The mailbox downstairs had held a letter, too. No return address, but I recognized my mother's handwriting immediately. Neat, slanted, still adorned with the occasional heart over an I. I didn't open it. I placed it in a drawer and closed it without a second thought. I wasn't curious. I wasn't angry. I was done. Back at my desk, I opened my bank app one last time. Not out of habit, but intention. The dashboard loaded, clean and bright. No automatic withdrawals, no scheduled transfers, no pending requests. Just next scheduled payment. $0, 0 cents. I took a screenshot, saved it into the closure folder. Then I closed the laptop and whispered, "Happy birthday, Rachel." Outside, the rain had stopped. The new house smelled like possibility. Fresh paint, faint glue from cabinet drawers, a hint of dust on untouched windowsills. It wasn't big. 2 bedrooms, 1.5 baths, and a kitchen that might be more honest if it just admitted it was a hallway. But it had a porch that caught the morning sun and floors that didn't creak when I walked barefoot at night. It didn't echo with memories. It didn't demand I earn my right to be there. It was mine. I moved in slowly. No rush, no chaos. Just box by box, shelf by shelf. Every item I brought through the door had made it through a filter I didn't realize I'd developed. Does this thing serve me? Or remind me who I had to survive? One afternoon, while unpacking a box labeled kitchen, keep, I found a mug I'd forgotten about. Pale blue with a tiny chip on the rim. It had once lived in the back of the Morgan family cupboard, something I'd used quietly when no one else wanted it. Forgotten, like I'd been. I placed it gently on the shelf. Let it stay. That chip, like mine, wasn't ruin. It was history. Outside, the garden beds were waiting for spring. I'd always liked the idea of planting something, of coaxing life from dirt without needing permission. In the evenings, I sat on the steps with a notebook and made lists. Not for others, not for budgets, but just for me. Books I wanted to read, meals I'd cook, things I'd never had time or space to want. And then one morning in April, a message arrived. From outreach@quietwealth.community. Subject, we'd love to feature your story. A women's collective had found my blog. They ran a series highlighting voices that navigated financial trauma inside families. They asked if I'd be willing to write a longer piece. Anonymous, if I preferred, and maybe even speak at their online summit. I almost said no. The instinct was still there. To stay small, quiet, out of the light. But then I remembered all the nights I'd stared at the ceiling of that guest bed turned closet, wondering if maybe I was the one out of line. Maybe I deserved nothing but silence and debt. Screw that. I said yes. A month later, I logged into the summit from my new living room. My bookshelf behind me, the camera softening the morning light on my face. I didn't name names. I didn't have to. But I told the truth. How guilt can look like gratitude. How control can hide behind "we're family." How silence is too often rewarded. Afterward, I received over 200 emails. Some were just thank yous. Some were confessions. Some were heartbreaking paragraphs from strangers who said things like, "My parents did the same." I thought I was crazy. I'm still there, but now I'm documenting. I needed to know it's survivable. I wrote back to every single one. A few weeks later, I got another letter from my mother. This one had a return address. I recognized the new handwriting. Cleaner, sharper, typed. It was probably from someone who had helped her write it. I didn't open it. But this time, I didn't put it in a drawer. I put it through the shredder. Slowly, strip by strip. One day, while getting groceries, I saw Kayla across the parking lot. She was leaning against the driver's side of a dusty sedan, arguing with someone on the phone. Her makeup was heavy, her hair pulled back in a way that said time was tight. She didn't see me. Or if she did, she looked right through me. I didn't wave. I didn't flinch. I just walked to my car, my reusable bag swinging by my side like nothing in me had ever broken. Later that week, I received a simple text from Derek. You good? I sent back a photo. The mug, the garden, the first sprout pushing through the soil. Getting there. On my birthday in November, I didn't buy a cake. I baked one. A small one. Chocolate again, but this time with fresh raspberries folded into the batter. I used my own measuring cups, my own oven, in a house where no one would burst in and tell me the kitchen wasn't mine to use. I didn't frost it. I didn't need to dress it up. I placed one candle in the center, lit it, sat at the table and whispered, "You're not just surviving anymore." Then I blew it out. The smoke curled upward and vanished. Quiet, steady, whole. And just like that, the last thing I owed anyone disappeared. What they thought was quiet obedience became the silence that exposed them. When manipulation hides beneath the mask of family, only clarity, record-keeping, and courage can restore the balance. Justice may arrive without applause, but its weight reshapes the air, undeniable and lasting. Like sunlight after a long storm, the absence of debt isn't just financial. It's a return to self. If this story resonated with you, like, share, subscribe, and comment 1 below if you've ever been there too.